So, I just watched all of You Season 5 in one day. This is the killer finale of the story of Joe Goldberg, promised to be an ending that we wouldn't see coming. Now that the season's been released and I've watched it, I've thought about it, obviously. Was it good or another disappointing finale to an otherwise good TV show? Well, it's kinda complicated. Heads up, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't finished the season yet, make sure to do that, then come back. Let's talk about some of the things I liked about this season, because there is actually quite a bit. I really liked the first 3 episodes or so. Seeing Joe live the rich life and kill people to protect his family was pretty interesting, and honestly, I wish they kept the Hitman Joe thing going for longer than 1 episode. I understand that they only had 10 episodes though, so I get why they had to drop it so early. I also liked when Joe called himself You, and honestly wish they kept it going for the whole season. The action of the season was really well choreographed, and it's always fun to watch how Joe somehow manages to beat people who are way more skilled than him. The power struggle between Joe and Kate near the end of the season was very interesting, and I think episode 9 in general was really good, except for that one really stupid part, but I'll be sure to talk about that later. Don't worry, I'll talk about it later. The characters this season were pretty good. I really enjoyed Kate, and I've actually always liked Kate. I don't know, I didn't know that's like a hot take. I guess people didn't really like her in season 4. And the twins were really fun to watch, and, very impressive the actor, played both of them. Teddy was fun as well, and Bronte, while having some of the worst dialogue maybe ever, was a good character. And of course, Joe is great as always. I think this season may actually be Penn Badgley's best performance as the character. The season being sort of like a parody of like those like TikTok books. I don't know what else to call them. If you know what I mean, I think it was pretty interesting. I also liked how Joe basically became love in season 3, with him killing and justifying it as protecting his family. I kind of wish Joe acknowledged this, and we got to see his thoughts about it, or maybe if he regrets killing Love now they're so similar. I don't know, I think it could have been interesting. And I think the final scene is pretty good, with Joe in jail and then he reads that letter. It really felt like a natural ending to the show, and it's a decent call out to people who romanticize Joe. However, I definitely have some problems with how we got to that ending, so I guess now would be time to talk about the problems I have with the season. Let's get the obvious out of the way. The dialogue this season, holy shit, it's not the greatest. And this show has always had odd dialogue, don't get me wrong, but it's really noticeable this season. Like, why is this woman in her 30s saying fucking Delulu, dude? I don't think anyone in her life has fucking said that. It's just like a lot of fucking TikTok language, dude. Like, I don't know. And I get like it's trying to be like Gen Z and shit. But I don't know, dude. I didn't really like it. Although I did like social media being one of the main things that was used against Joe because of how he used it to stalk people in the past. I think that was pretty neat. Oh, so I didn't really care for the cameos this season. I mean, the ones on TikTok were fine, but Mary Ann's inclusion I found to be really strange. Like, she kind of shows up and like rightfully bullies Joe, helps Bronte understand Joe's manipulation, and then fucking leaves. I understand why they'd want to bring her back. I mean, it is good for Joe to know that she's alive, and for him to know like what he's done to her, but I think she should have done more and not just shown up for like 4 minutes. And I actually think she should have shown up in a different way, but I'll talk about that later. But Mary Ann's inclusion was not the worst thing about episode 9. The worst thing in this episode is this really fucking stupid part where Joe puts a spare key of the cage in his fucking arm. Why the fuck did he do this? How did he know he would be locked in the cage? It would have been very easy for Kate and Co to just like not find the spare key. Like, I guess like then it would have been too obvious, but like, we already know Joe is going to get out. I can see the thumbnail for the next episode where he's very obviously not in the cage. I guess they just did it for like Joe to have like that bloody mouth. It's also kind of dumb that Kate survived this episode. Don't get me wrong, like I said, I like Kate, but her dying here I think would have been better than her living. It would have shown like there are still some consequences. I don't think everyone should have had a happy ending. Speaking of characters that probably should have died, Bronte. Now, I actually really like the character of Bronte. I like how it's just similar to Joe, as she's kind of like made up a persona to get to him, which is similar to what Joe has done with his multiple obsessions, It's a little different, but like he does set up like a persona of being like kind of like the perfect guy. He's a serial killer, I mean, she fucking calls him you in her head, dude. Like, I just can't get more clear than that. Anyway, in the final episode, cleverly named Finale as a reference to it being the last episode of the show, Joe and Bronte have a climactic conclusion where Joe basically realizes he's unlovable, and then he's like, oh, well, I've been such a fool for putting so much faith in Love and in Bronte, so then he tries to kill her. It's a pretty cool sequence. And something else that's interesting is that Joe is actually caught in the bedroom, which I'll let Penn Badgley explain the significance of.
So the key here is Joe is not caught, he's not caught in the box.
Right.
He's caught in the bedroom.
Yeah.
That's actually where he does his worst work, is his manipulation and seduction. The box is like kind of obvious.
Right.
The box is actually where he'll put anybody, but he only puts women in the bedroom, you know what I mean? And so that's where his most dangerous work is.
I think that's pretty cool, and it did actually like kind of clear it out for me to like, why didn't they just let him get caught in the cage so they could do that? Anyway, the point is, in this fight, Bronte is shot, punched, strangled, and drowned. She also has a broken ankle on top of all this. but somehow she survives all this, which alone, that isn't a problem. I can see her surviving this since, Joe was rushing, he was trying to escape the cops, which, by the way, I don't think realistically they would send this many cops out there, nor would they get there this fast, but I can suspend my disbelief for that. What I can't do that for, though, is that somehow Bronte manages to catch up with Joe, mind you, she has a broken ankle, was shot, and then holds Joe at gunpoint with a gun that she took from a cop he killed. Which also, why didn't Joe take the gun from the cop he killed? He's still taking the gun, okay? But anyway, Bronte takes it and holds Joe at gunpoint until the cops find them, and then Joe gets his dick shut off, sure, whatever. My problem with this is that Bronte should be dead, or at the very least not able to catch up with him. Her being alive, I don't care, okay, that's fine. Joe definitely should have been arrested. If they just didn't beat Bronte up so much, I really wouldn't have a problem with this. You might be wondering, why am I focusing so much on this scene and not any other scenes from the season? It's because this is the scene that stands out in my mind. It's like the one I want to talk about. And I guess that ends my complaints for the season, but I will say, like, Bronte's line about people fantasizing about people like Joe to cope with the reality of people like Joe, I think that was pretty good, and it almost makes the final sequence with them worth it, but I don't know. I feel like she could have said it earlier and still have died, or like not have been able to catch up with him. He could have just been arrested. Oh wait, there actually is another problem I have with this season. Where the fuck was Joe's trial? Joe's trial is absolutely something we should have seen, and honestly, it probably should have been the final episode. Like, seeing Joe actually have to face everything he's done and try to weasel his way out of it would have been really interesting. And also, this would have been a more appropriate place for Marianne's cameo, in my opinion. But instead, we don't see his trial at all, just the aftermath for like 10 seconds. And it feels like just such a missed opportunity, and it's kind of lazy to skip over it completely. Speaking of missed opportunities, I feel like we never really got closure on Joe's mom. Like, what was her reaction to Joe becoming a billionaire, or to his crimes? Is she even alive? Like, we don't know, and honestly, really should have been addressed, dude. And honestly, the final thing I feel like needed to be addressed, I'm very surprised they didn't address this, was what Joe wrote in the Henry's note at the end of season 3. In case you don't remember, at the end of season 3, when Joe left Henry with the gay couple, I forgot their names, he left them a note, and he said there's a part of the note that Henry can read when he's older, but that's between Joe and Henry. I don't know if I missed anything, but it didn't fucking come out ever, and that feels like such an obvious thing. We're like, oh, this will be expanded upon later. But nope, just fucking skips over it. Definitely something that should have come up. Maybe they're saving it for a Henry spin-off? Although I'm not really sure how I feel about that idea, because I feel like they do kind of leave it like it's supposed to be like ambiguous about what will happen to Henry. But I mean, in this like current like culture we have, like everything gets a spin-off, so I can definitely see them making it. And honestly, I would watch it, if it's in the same style of the show. Like, it would definitely be interesting to see Henry have to struggle with how both his parents were serial killers. Could definitely cause for some interesting internal conflict, and it would be a great excuse to get cameos from characters like Joe and Love, because you could like dream about them or something. I also think a sequel show about Joe in prison could be interesting, with him now knowing he is unlovable and not focusing on trying to find love. Kind of like just like him in like the final fight sequence, and maybe instead of you it's called like me or something corny like that. But at the same time, I don't want them to milk this series. Like, there's no need to, so yeah. Anyways, it just kind of feels like the final season was rushed. Honestly, I think the season should have been longer, or preferably it should have been split into 2 seasons. Like, have there be one season where it mainly focuses on the conflict with Kate's family, and Joe can be the you for almost the entire season, right? And then introduce Bronte as well, and then have us actually have time to get connected to her, then end the season with Joe killing Clayton and the Bronte twist. Then the entire final season can be Joe and Kate's divorce, and everyone coming out about Joe, the downfall of Joe, basically. Then Joe gets caught in maybe episode 7 or 8, and the final episodes can be his trial. So, that's my thoughts on season 5. I'm sure if I rewatch the season, I'd find more things to like or dislike, but I don't really want to rewatch it, so I'm not going to. Actually, wait, I did forget to talk about Nadia, which should probably say enough about how I feel about Nadia in this season. Overall, this season is quite strange to me. Overall, I'd say the actual ending is satisfying, but the journey to get there could have been better. Actually, I did hear about like another ending they were planning to do, which I think I might have actually kind of preferred, but at the same time not. Basically, Joe would have gone away, but he would be miserable, which I think that could have been interesting, but they kind of already did that with season 2. But I guess he did become obsessed with someone else, so I don't know. It could have been an interesting ending. But I do think where they actually left it leaves more room for like another thing if they want to do like another show. Like, there's more room to do that with the ending they have, which is really weird because he's in fucking jail. If I had to rank the seasons, it'd probably go with 4, then 5, then 2, then 1, then 3. But what do you think? Did Joe get the ending he deserved, or did you want him to once again get away with his crimes? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more TV shows, movies, and video game reviews. And I'll see you guys in the next video.